Citizens of the city of Chubbuck, grateful to be with you on this wonderful Friday morning. And those of you who have had the opportunity to read our newsletter, or if you haven't, it'll be coming to you and you can look at it. I just shortly addressed the concept that the consolidation of the cities will be addressed at our election in November. And I'd mentioned that I would talk a little bit more about it today with you. And so that's what I'm going to do today. The first thing I'd like to do is let you know, so that you can be aware, this is the question that will be posed to us on our ballot in the election in November. It's going to say, do you support exploring the consolidation of Pocatello and Chubbuck into one city? First, I want to address this. There have been several who've come to me, and I had the same thought as to whether or not the county commission should have exercised their authority to have an advisory question and put this question on the ballot. There's a couple of things that I think we ought to look at in answering that question. First, Idaho statute title number 31 addresses counties, and it addresses particularly in one of their chapters, one of the titles is for the county commission. And in that, there's a portion of it that the title that addresses county commissions is Title 31, and the paragraph 718 says this. This is advisory ballot questions. The Board of County Commissioners shall have the authority to place a question on the ballot pertaining to any issue before the citizens of the county during a primary or general election. The results of such an election shall be advisory only. It's been my position that this isn't a county issue, this is a city issue. That we're going to have the people from 5 cities that are not part of Pocatello and Chubbuck voting on this, as well as those who are in unincorporated portions of Bannock County who don't live in cities at all, will be asked the same question. So it's my contention this certainly isn't a county issue. Now, as I say that, let me just say that the statutes, the laws of Idaho are very pointed out as to how consolidations would happen too. And that's in Title 50, which is municipal corporations, and Chapter 21 of that title addresses specifically consolidation of cities. And the process for that to happen is spelled out absolutely meticulously. And nowhere on there does it talk about having an advisory question on the ballot. It's my feeling that if the state felt that that was the proper first step, they would give us the authority to do that. Where they haven't, they have certainly spelled out, and I've gone through it in detail over the last couple of weeks. I was aware of it before, but there are a couple of things that I would point out that have been talked about that I think we need to know that are spelled out very specifically in this title. One is the fact that there has been the concept that if we combine the 2 cities, we could come up with a new name and we could take the very best of both cities and try to combine them. That is even a possibility. From the code, if it's determined to consolidate cities, you all become the largest city. So in this case, we would all just become Pocatello. What that means is that all of the ordinances and the policies and procedures of the city of Chubbuck would just go away. We would then be governed under everything that exists within the city of Pocatello. So we need to understand that. It isn't a matter of creating a new city. You just become part of another city. Secondly, there's been some talk about what the costs would be and who would pay those costs. Now, there is a cost. If it does get to the point where you consolidate, you then have to have an election to elect new leaders. And there is a cost there, and the county does absorb that cost. But there are lots of other costs that are picked up along the way of trying to get consolidation to happen. And it spells out exactly who pays those. If the consolidation happens, the new city pays all of those costs. If the consolidation doesn't happen, both cities pay a proportional part of those costs. So there would be a cost to this. I'm going to have to look and see. There was one other that was talked about that a lot of people were concerned with. I think the important thing is that the process itself, I think, is important to understand. They tell you what the process is. There's 2 different ways that a consolidation question could end up on the ballot. One is that the elected leaders of both communities could pass a resolution to have that put on the ballot. That would take a majority of your city council and your mayor being in favor of putting it on the ballot. Short of that, a citizens' initiative can happen. And what happens there is you have to come up with the question that you'd like to ask. The cities buy off on that question, and then there's a petition drive that happens. And you have to get 20% of the registered voters that voted in the last election to sign that petition. That's a pretty high mark. And again, in my opinion, those two places are the places you have what would be considered advisory. This would be the advisory. If you don't have enough interest to have people put the time, money, and effort to start a petition drive, and then to have the interest to have that many people sign that petition, that certainly is advisory in nature. If you can't get that, the question goes away. If you do get that, it gets on the ballot and a vote is taken, and the electorate can decide. What it takes if a vote does happen is it would take 50% plus one from both communities to vote for it to happen. Let me look real quick, see if there's anything else. Again, if you want to go online, you can go to the state code, Title 50, Chapter 21, and read this in its complete nature. I think that'll do for now. Let me just address this now. This was an interesting thing that I ran into during this last week. There's a large university in the States here. I'm not going to say which university it was. If you want to look it up, you can probably find this. They were asked to take, a lot of different communities had this question before them. And one of the things that is to happen before this question gets in front of the electorate is for an education process to happen and to do a study to determine what the feasibility of this would be. They're expensive. So what they'd done is they'd taken many communities have gone through that expense and done these studies. So they asked this university to take those studies and to dissect them and to come up with some conclusions from that. Let me share with you what these conclusions were. The study is entitled, it says, "Studies show consolidating local governments exposes taxpayers to many risks with no guaranteed reward." Then in the executive summary, I'm only going to read portions of this to you. It says, this is to provide a summary of the benefits, the risks, and or shortcomings of local government mergers. Consolidations are by definition a political action. As a result, consolidation agreements contain compromises that impact their ultimate effectiveness and outcomes. Moreover, consolidation itself may also be used to shift power for political gain in ways that may not be clear to the electorate or desirable for all involved. Research shows that in many cases, consolidation does not end up the way it was presented to the public or even the way it was intended by those involved in the process. For example, research shows that consolidation does not guarantee financial benefits, and any cost savings are speculative at best. In fact, several studies suggest that consolidation can lead to unanticipated costs and may actually lead to increased costs. Another popular claim is that local government consolidation results in more effective, efficient, and accountable government, largely because it reduces duplication. However, these claims are also unsupported by the data, often because duplication of services simply does not exist to the degree suggested by consolidation proponents. On the whole, consolidation research indicates that the potential benefits from consolidation are limited. In fact, studies find little evidence that the consolidation can do true and lasting good for local governments and their taxpayers. Instead, most of the claims made by the consolidation proponents lack data to support them and are largely based on false premises. This is the conclusion of their executive summary. It says, the data examined here suggests that structural consolidation through merging local governments into larger governmental entities will not save taxpayer dollars and in fact may result in higher costs for local taxpayers. Many of the scholars cited in this report have suggested consolidating local governments is a risky proposition and that it can have negative results and certainly does not guarantee financial or other rewards. You've probably figured out by my tone that I'm certainly not in favor of this consolidation, and I suppose that I'd like to just end with just some of my own personal thoughts on this. I have lived in the city of Chubbuck. I'm in my 4th decade here. I love this city. I do. I've watched this city grow over the last 30 plus, 35 years, and I've truly come to have a great appreciation for the city of Chubbuck. And right now, I believe that we are on a path and a trajectory to have some really great things happen in our beautiful community. And I think that it'd be such a mistake to let go of that process that's happening right now. I certainly want to say this. This was an issue about a year ago, and it became quite a public issue, and so there was a lot of discussion, and I got a lot of calls. And I'm telling you, I think maybe it's the fact that people know my stance on it, but I've not received calls in favor of consolidation by citizens of the city of Chubbuck, but I've received a lot of communication by people who've asked me to make sure not let this happen. If there are those of you out there who have a different opinion, I'm open to hearing that. I have not heard it yet, and I'd be open to hearing what you have to say. I'm not really afraid of this question because I think that the people of this community recognize that this would not be in their best interests. But that's the reason I ended my short little communication with you in the newsletter with a very simple thought, and I'll maybe conclude here with that simple thought. If you've had enough of this, we've been talking about it. Like I say, we talked about it a lot for about a year, and then it went away, and now it's come back up because of this advisory question. And basically, if you want it to go away, the easiest way for that to happen, the soonest, is just to vote no on November 3rd to make sure that people understand that no, we're happy with the way things are, and let's just get on with business. I just want you to know how much I appreciate each one of you. I appreciate this community. I've raised my family here. I have grandkids who are being raised here. I just love the community, and I'm grateful to be involved in helping with the direction of this community right now. I think we're headed in just a wonderful place. We've had some real challenges hit us over the last few months because of a virus that is affecting many things, many portions of our society. But we're going to get through this, and we are just set in a place that once we do get through this, it can get back to things in a normality that we'd like to see come back. We have the potential to have some wonderful things happen in our community. So just grateful for each one of you. Study the issue out, make sure and get out and vote. This certainly isn't the issue that's before us. We have a presidential election this year, and it's imperative that you vote. Find the way to vote. There's going to be a way to vote on Election Day. That's what I love to do. I absolutely love to vote on Election Day, and so I plan to do that. But there are many other ways, and if you want to have an absentee ballot, they're providing those at this point in time, and just make sure that you do vote. And with this particular issue, I hope that we can maybe put it to bed for now. I have said this in the past, though. This is not a brand new issue. 1962, this community went to the polls and voted not to join with Pocatello. The city of Alameda did join with them at that point in time. And then it has come up as a discussion many times in my 60 years in this community. And so I don't know that it'll necessarily go away, but maybe we can put it to bed for this time. Just grateful for each one of you. Again, have a great week, and we'll talk to you another time.